How's it going, everybody? It is another deadline stream, and I'm on time today because I made sure I set 7,000 alarms. So good to be back. It is the Game Week 11 deadline stream. We got a bunch to talk about. Some embargoed quotes coming from Pep Guardiola. That basically confirms that Riyad Mahrez will play. We're going to be talking about what we should be doing going forward with our Everton assets and how we can basically shift them to something a bit more valuable over their tough run of fixtures. And we're also going to take a look at the potential of Newcastle having another blank game week. So going to be some interesting stuff, because I know a lot of people wanted to go on the Wilson train after he got his goal assist versus Crystal Palace. So that should be quite interesting. And yeah, Calvert-Lewin, is he cooling off? Is he going to be one making way next week? He could potentially be a swap to Danny Ings, potentially, who could be on the horizon back. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So let's get right into it. Just couldn't think of anything else there. But yeah, so here's my team up on the screen. So we will discuss our transfers first, because I made some transfers last night. I made 2 of them. I was pretty much set on him for the most part. Barring, just a couple like kind of shifts in thought on potential other Man City assets. So like, what if I brought in Mahrez? What if I brought in Jesus? What if I did this? What if I did that? And kind of the decision trees that go with it. So with this, we've gone with getting rid of Harry Kane, and we've also gotten rid of who we gotten rid of? James Rodriguez. Even though I didn't want to get rid of him for this Burnley fixture, but in order to do it, I had to. He was the one that I was going to get rid of, because I wanted Grealish next week when he plays. And we brought in De Bruyne, and he's going to be our captain for this week for sure. Hey, Neep, how's it going? How have you been? Also, just a normal reminder, we have our emotes. Also, you can see the little sub icon badge. That's the 2-month badge that I have going on there. So if you want to support the channel, you can do so. It is not required, but it is definitely appreciated. So the subscriber badge is just like a standard little like flame badge like that. You can see like the little gold stars over the top of the badge. That just means it's a tier 2 or tier 3 sub. Then the 3-month is like a silvery platinum looking one. The 6-month is like a gold one, and then the last one is the year-long one is like a blue, like a light blue one, kind of like a hot flame. It looks pretty cool. So yeah, make sure to check them out. How's it going, Jagster Man? How's it doing? Neep is doing great. Glad to hear it. So yeah, these were the transfers. I'll just go over them again. So basically my thinking was that I was initially going to bring in Antonio or Wilson. That was my thinking. With Antonio suffering another hamstring injury from the looks of it, and could be out. He's out for the United game, and he could be out for another week or 2 because it just doesn't seem to go away for him. We have to resort, and then Wilson obviously being out this week and could be out next week too, because of their facilities being shut down, of the game being postponed. He could be out for versus Villa and versus West Brom or whoever they play. Who do they play? Is it West Brom? Yeah, they play West Brom. So that's a bit of a bummer for them. Which is a bit weird. I'm wondering if they're going to change one of these Sunday fixtures to go in that slot, potentially. Maybe. They might do that. They probably have to know us a lot more ahead of time. But, yeah. So basically, I was like, I wanted De Bruyne in. That was my main thinking. There were some kind of different thoughts about bringing in Jesus and that sort of nonsense, but that was just too risky. I felt that getting rid of Sterling was too much of a risk because I think that he can still, he could do well. Pep spoke highly of him, and I thought that it would made sense just to kind of keep him. If he doesn't do anything this week, he's gone next week anyway, because versus in the Manchester derby, he is useless basically. Every time he plays versus Manchester United, for whatever reason, he just doesn't score. So he would make way for Salah anyway, which we can do. De Bruyne was going to come in and be our captain, and it always makes sense if you're going to bring in somebody for a hit. It validates the fact that if you're going to captain them. And then in terms of the cheap forward, well, I already had Bamford. So basically the options is Bamford, Watkins, Wilson, Antonio, Che Adams. And then you have like the other like kind of random ones like Fabio Silva who could play, and that sort. But out of those main five, Wilson's out for this week and potentially next week. Antonio's out injured. Watkins just missed a penalty and had a dreadful, like, unlucky game. And could be off penalties now. I already have Bamford, so Che Adams was the one. And I think that going into next week, when Southampton plays Sheffield United at home, and they also have a good Fulham fixture as well, and I think they can definitely cause Arsenal problems. City, they're historically not too bad against. We can show the transfers for next week. It's basically going to be to get Sterling out, and we're going to get Calvert-Lewin out, who actually we have value on now too. We gained value on him because he went up to 8 million last night, so we've had him since he was 7 million. So we've got 0.5 million on him, which is insane. So we would bring in Salah, put him in the midfield, and then we would also bring in Ings, who's currently at 8.3. And that would leave us with 0.2. That's what we're going to be looking to do. And then we basically have double Southampton attack versus Sheffield, which is good. We have Salah captained for the Fulham fixture. We still have, parts in the Manchester derby because I think there's still going to be goals in it, regardless. And what we could potentially do, so we'll play Chilwell. We'll play Chilwell versus Everton because we don't have any Everton assets in that game. We could potentially play Eiling versus West Ham. Lamptey is versus Leicester, but again, Leicester only scored one goal versus Fulham. So we could potentially play those three. Maybe we see if Nuno reverts back to the back three this week, and then we can maybe start Kilman versus versus Grealish and Aston Villa, but could be a bit tricky. Because I'd rather not play Telles versus City, but I would like to play him versus Sheffield United. Would be nice. So yeah, that's the thinking there. And then what we do is going into the Gameweek 13, we don't necessarily have to do anything really. We can make a goalkeeper transfer so that we don't have McCarthy versus City in Gameweek 14. But he also plays Arsenal too, so we could bring in. If we want, we could just bank that transfer and wait until he does play versus Man City, and then take him out, just bank that transfer again, and then go into game week 15, where we can take out Telles against Leicester, and we can take out I believe Chilwell plays Arsenal. But we could take out one of those two and swap them for potentially somebody else for a better fixture. So that's kind of the line of thinking there. Let's reset that and readjust it back and go back here. So let's see what the chat's saying. So Janksterman says he has Vardy, Werner, and Watkins. That's perfectly fine. I think the forward line is pretty good. I would suggest, I think personally, if I had to rank captains this week, so assuming you have everybody this week, assuming you have Vardy, you have Fernandes, you have De Bruyne, you have Kane, you have Salah, you have Calvert-Lewin, you have all these players. of possible captains. I think tied first. I think it's a very close decision, but I think tied for first is Vardy and Fernandez because both of them do like damage away from home. And then I think next is like the City assets, so like the De Bruyne's, the Maras, mainly De Bruyne. Um, I think is the like the next category, and the reason I've gone with De Bruyne this week is just because he is at home. Both him and Fernandez, it was nothing much last week, and I think that if I'm bringing in somebody for a hit, I feel more inclined to captain them. I think he is a safe pick. I may be swayed to switch the captaincies for Fernandez by the end of the stream, but we will see. We'll check the XGI attacking output table in a bit to check out on that, and I may be convinced otherwise. So Hazard FC says, I have Lamptey, Mitchell, Dallas, Chilwell, and Castagne in defense. So you have to play basically Chilwell, Dallas, and Lamptey this week because Castagne is not back as far as I know. Or he might not be back. But I would start Castagne for sure in the event that he does play. I would start Castagne, Chilwell, and Lamptey. In the midfield, he has Grealish, Ziyech, KDB, Son, and Burke. So in that case, I would start Grealish, Ziyech, KDB, and Son, because in the event that for whatever reason Aston Villa are allowed to play versus Newcastle next week Wednesday, let's say, but it'll be after the deadline, keep Grealish in your team, like I'm doing right here, because worst case scenario, Burke comes in anyway. Just make him first sub, right? If for whatever reason they change the game and it's like, oh, Aston Villa versus Newcastle is going to take place next week Friday or some crap, some nonsense like that, then you have Grealish in your team, but it could be a part of Game Week 11. Highly unlikely, but still do it anyway. And then looking to take a hit for either Castagne or Grealish this week, but I don't know who to bring in or who to take a hit for. So depending on what your forward line looks like, and your goalkeeper situation, that team seems perfectly fine to me. The only thing I would say is that you don't have Fernandez, which is a bit, bit worrying. You don't have any Liverpool either. You just said DCL, Bamford, and Vardy up front. Okay, so that's fine. The keeper's McCarthy. Okay, so otherwise the team is fine. You could. So if you wanted to get, another potentially playing midfielder, you could just keep Grealish, like personally, and then deal with Castagne maybe. But I mean, you could be perfectly fine playing Lamptey, playing Chilwell, starting Castagne. If he plays, he plays. If he doesn't, you have Dallas, which isn't great versus Chelsea, but whatever. You play Grealish, Ziyech, KDB, Son. If Grealish doesn't play, you have Burke who comes in. If he doesn't play, well then whatever. Your goalkeeper's covered and your front three is covered, so I don't think you really need to do anything. I would just be worried because you don't have Fernandez, who could be good this week, especially with Antonio out for Aston Villa. And if they go with a good lineup, I don't see any reason why United couldn't line up with De Bruyne, Pogba, and Van der Beek all in the midfield versus West Ham, because West Ham aren't gonna do anything apart from try to break with Fornals and Bowen and Haller, but they're going to sit back in a very low block. Like, we don't need Fred, we don't need Matic, we don't need McTominay to screen. Like, Van der Beek can dash back and cover. The only thing I would say is that I think Axel Tuanzebe could be important, and playing in that kind of fast center back role, or Eric Bailly apparently is back fit, so the only problem is that you're going to have to sub Bailly over 30 minutes because he always seems to get injured, but who knows. But I think you could definitely play those three midfielders and go a super attacking lineup and just pass them to absolute bits. But Ole's never going to do that because he's going to play Maguire and Lindelof. He's going to play Rashford again, even though he's said he's injured basically. But we'll see. Jackson says Bruno, KDB, Jota, Grealish, Riederwald. So you have basically a blank in your midfield. Okay. Kilman, Chilwell, Diaz, Kufau, and Streak. So you're probably playing Chilwell, Diaz, and Kufal maybe in that. Um, McCarthy in goal, and then you have one free transfer left. If your front line is settled and fine, I would say your free transfer should be used to potentially. You have zero point 0.3 in the bank. How much is Struik or Strike or however you pronounce his name? Struik. He's 4 million. You could sell Kilman because to get more of like a definite starter. Possibly, I could say, but again, I don't know if Nuno is going to go back to the back three. The problem is this game week will tell. If your front line's fine, I would say roll with it, and if you know if Kilman blanks, then I mean he's playing Liverpool, so I mean it's basically a blank anyway. But in terms of replacements, be in the 4.5 million category. You could go with, I was going to say you could go with Walker Peters, but he's 4.6 now, so that'd be 0.1 off. Who else did you have? You don't have a Leeds defender whose fixtures get quite good, so you can go for the likes of Dallas or Ayling. That's not bad. Who do Burnley have this week? Burnley have Everton. Saying Charlie Taylor or someone like that could be okay. There's not really much else, to be honest. I mean, Target would be perfect, but again, he's just, he's not playing. You could potentially go with like Benderek or somebody like that for just like set piece threat. That would be my only kind of suggestion. But if they go to a back three, again, Seiss was still on the bench, like available before he had to isolate, and Kilman was playing over him. So we'll see. This is kind of the game week to kind of, if you want to like, just kind of take the L in a sense and just kind of like let things happen. It's definitely easy to do it. Like me, like Kilman's basically got a blank for me, in my opinion. I'm not expecting much from Ayling, and I don't expect Burke to play, because I think that now that Mousset is back for Sheffield United, Burke's probably just going to be a bit time player, and he's going to be bench fodder. So I'm just hoping that he plays, because I'd rather not have Ayling versus Chelsea, personally. But yeah, it's a bit tough on that. Overall, I would just say, just hope that Chilwell will play, Kufa will play, and just hope Pep starts Diaz, which he should, and then just have Kilman just come in, hopefully. And hopefully, like, the thing is, Wolves are still good defensively. It's not like they're going to get battered 4-5-0. They just won't score goals versus Liverpool. So I would say just kind of keep him for now, and then go into next week looking to potentially get Salah or Mane, and figure out something there. Will Grealish play for this game week? I mean, Aston Villa versus Newcastle. Again, we don't know. Like, really, they said the game's postponed in due course. What that means, don't know. Basically, in past, like when they say something like that, it's basically it's postponed till further notice, basically. But what they could do, giving the exception for like TV rights and stuff, is they could potentially put it next week Wednesday and still include it as part of Game Week 11. They could. So I would say if you're keeping Grealish, if you're keeping Watkins, and they would be a better player than who you would put in anyway, put them in your team, because if they do play, fantastic. If they don't, well, you expected it anyway. So it's just one of those things. That's how I see it. So if they do put the fixture in, they could announce it like, you know, so when are the fixtures go to? So this fixture could be moved up into no, looking at the wrong game. So we still have a game on Monday, which is Brighton versus Southampton. We may get news that on Monday that the Aston Villa versus Newcastle fixture is being played on Wednesday, and it's being included a part of Gameweek 11. That's a possibility. Highly unlikely, but it's still a possibility. And would you want to still play Grealish in that if you're keeping him? Because you know he's going to play next week? Of course you want to have him play versus Newcastle, versus a team that hasn't trained for much of the weeks, had their facility closed down till at least the end of yesterday. I don't know if they've gone back in yet or not, but yeah, I would say start them like how I have. If they don't play, then you just make sure that your sub, whoever's coming in for them, is in line to do so. So yeah, that's what I would say personally. Just makes the most sense. Let me go through the chat. So I have the funds to bring in either Salah or Fernandes. Okay. Well, I mean, you could bring in Fernandes for this week. That's probably a good shout, personally. Hazard. Would that mean getting rid of Ziyech or Son? If you have to get rid of Son, I think it's not a bad option. If you have to get rid of Ziyech, that's probably a bit tougher to do because I think Ziyech could still do well this week. But I think Ziyech may fall play to the same thing that James Rodriguez is kind of falling under, where he's kind of like the assist of the assister potentially. But Ziyech has like a delivery into the box, whereas James kind of is the crossfield ball. And they don't have Digne, and he was like, it was the main like combination of passing for Everton was James on the right hand, like the right hand half space, swings it across to Digne. Digne puts it across to Calvert-Lewin, who heads it in the goal. In that scenario for FPL points, James gets shortchanged because he's no good. In that scenario, whereas Ziyech is swing the ball into the back post into Chilwell, who can shoot. Or he could pass it to Timo Werner or somebody like that. So, and no, he will not play. The fixture at the moment is basically as if it doesn't exist in Game Week 11. And somewhere down the line, Aston Villa will have a second double game week. Because remember, they already have one game versus City that they have to make up for Game Week 1 as well. Fernandes is very good at away. Could be the best pick. He could. I think him and Vardy are the two best captaincy shouts this week. And we'll see some data on that potentially in a bit. Wolves have tough fixtures ahead and Slice is back. Yeah, so there could be some rotation there as we mentioned. But it's a bit tough. We'll see how Nuno plays his hand this week versus Liverpool, because Liverpool are a team that could do damage versus them, and I think he'll revert back to his back three now that he has Kilman, Slice is back. We'll see what he wants to play, apart from the fact that he doesn't have Raul Jimenez. We'll see if Fabio Silva becomes an option. Newcastle versus West Brom might be postponed as well. That is another thing. So if you have Callum Wilson, I would say there's definitely reasons to transfer him out. You can go to Adams, you can go to Bamford if you don't have him, you can go to these sorts of players. Whereas Grealish, we know is going to be out for one game week and one game week only, assuming he doesn't test positive for whatever reason. Yeah. How about Jota? Jota is a very good pick. I think a Liverpool double up is good. Do I think it's good versus Fulham potentially? Maybe, because I think Jota would definitely see some game time in that. But if we look at the kind of rests of players, let's actually go look at the player rests for Liverpool actually, just really quickly. So if we look at Salah in the Premier League, Salah obviously he came back in this game week and only played 63 minutes. And came off, which he didn't seem too happy about. And then I believe he was subbed early in the Champions League as well. So Salah's had his rest. He's going to be good for pretty much all of the Christmas period for the most part. He may see an odd subbing earlier, like 75th, 80th minute every now and again, if they're way ahead. But anyone could be like that. Sadio Mane got his rest. He was benched versus Brighton, so he should be fine as well for the near future. Diego Jota, he's played 3 games in a row. He also played in the Champions League as well, but he got subbed at 60 minutes, so I think he should be fine for this week. And I think that Klopp will probably play 4 up front anyway. He'll play all of them. And then Firmino's play, he didn't start in the Champions League. And I'm not sure if he came on either. But so far, pretty much all of the main guys have had like a rest or haven't started, except Jota, because of Jota just being so good, basically. But yeah. So I think Liverpool assets are going to be, he's going to play all 4 of them anyway this week, I think. So in the Champions League next week, they can do whatever they want because they're already through. So they effectively have a blank next week. So let me actually go back. So Liverpool, so they're going to play Wolves. They'll effectively have a blank in midweek, so he won't play Robertson, he won't play Trent, he won't play all these sorts of players if they're fit and available. He'll play like a whatever team because he can literally get spanked 85-0 and it doesn't matter. And then he'll go into the Fulham game and the Spurs game with pretty much a fully fit team. He may even rest a couple of people in the Fulham game, maybe like Robertson. He might be able to get away with benching him. And maybe bring Trent back in for that game as a warm-up for the Spurs game. So we'll have to see on that. Hazard says, anybody considering Mahrez? Pep said he would play people who played well, but he was rested during their Champions League Porto match. Funny you should say that. Funny you should say that. There was a Twitter account that I found that has who did I just follow recently? Where is his name? I'm gonna find him if you give me one moment. Following, it's a guy Colm Hayes, so he's at Colm COLMV Hayes on Twitter. He has some embargoed press conference where he said something specifically. So he let me find the complete thread. So Pep Guardiola said, where was the exact quote? I'm gonna find it. I will find it. Also, Pep says against Porto, Bernardo was exceptional. Bernardo wasn't very good versus Porto from what I saw personally. But again, he's Pep Guardiola, so. So Pep said, what next? ? I need the strikers to score goals. Riyad Mahrez scored 3 goals against Burnley, and tomorrow he's going to play. Because he scored a lot of goals, the guys who score goals. That's what he came out with and said in his embargoed press conference quotes. So that's a bit of important information there, but it follows to the line of the fact that he said that he was going to start him or keep playing the people who score, which makes sense. He also had to say, Pep Guardiola on center back said, Ruben Diaz right now, since he arrived, I see in every training session his commitment, and he's not making any mistakes. Stones has played really good in his games that he's played as well. He says on Laporte or Aymeric continues to be so important for us, but right now I'm playing other guys. In the future, I'm pretty sure he's going to play a lot of games. On Stones, first step is to have this continuity, training every day and playing every 3 days. We know the quality he has. There's no doubts about it. It's not about the quality. The quality is always there. It's about how you perform. So that's some of the quotes that came out from him in his embargo press conference notes, which is very interesting. So if you went for Mahrez this week or are thinking about going Riyad Mahrez this week, could be dangerous. So we're probably thinking Mahrez, Jesus +1 up front. So that could be Sterling, that could be Ferran Torres. I didn't see any notes on either of those, but he did talk about Sterling in his initial press conference notes. So we'll see on that front. So yeah, Pep is going to probably rest again. Um, he'll probably rest Jesus in that. He might play Sterling false 9 or something like that as well, but we'll see. I may play Ferran Torres false 9. May even play the young kid Delap as well. They can literally, again, they're in the same situation as Liverpool next week, where they can literally play whoever they want and they'll be fine. Whereas the likes of United, Chelsea's in the same boat. They can literally play whoever they want and they're fine. United, on the other hand, is in a bit of a sticky situation. They have to go out there and get a draw or win. Spurs, if they want to clinch first, they have to go out there and win. In Europa League, Leicester, I think, is in the same boat as well. I think Arsenal's fine in Europa League, but those three, Leicester, Spurs, and United, have to go out and get a result of some kind. Mono says, hey buddy, how's it going? How's it going? It is going well for me, and I hope things are going well for you. I feel bad, but brought in Mars for Grealish. Is that okay? Based on Pep's comments, seems perfect. You might want to captain him too, potentially. Yeah, unless Pep's lying. But again, somebody who scores a hat trick, be pretty hard for them to get benched, right? Did KDB for Son and Grealish to Mars for this week? So you took out KDB for Son. That's bold. Very, very, very bold, I would say. Unless it's Son to KDB, Grealish to Mars, in which case that makes a little bit more sense. But yeah. Doubling up on those City assets because of the Fulham match this week and the West Brom fixture week after next. Yes, I mean, I think that the West Brom fixture is probably on paper better than Fulham. I'm actually gonna bring up if I can, the stat. Where is it to? Fantasy Football Scout had an image. I'm gonna see if I can screenshot it. Videos. Best captain for the week. Apologies for any sound that may come out. Skip that. Where's the page? I'm gonna see if I can get the snippet tool and bring it across here. Okay, so close that. Do that. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this. I'm gonna see if I can make it a little bit smaller here. Move this up. So you should be able to see that pretty much as best as possible. So this is basically the or like if you guys watch Fantasy Football Scout, the whipping boys table, as Joe on Fantasy Football Scout calls it. Basically, what it means is who are the teams that are conceding the most big chances, how many goals are they conceding, and how many goals are they expected to concede. So if you look at Fulham, this is over the last 4 game weeks, by the way. Fulham have only conceded 5 big chances. They've conceded exactly 5 goals. They've expected to concede 5 goals, and they've conceded 5 goals. Bang on. Now, is there teams that can create more big chances than who they've played? Yeah, City can definitely create a lot more. But if you look at the likes of Sheffield United, 10 big chances conceded, 7 expected goals conceded, 7 goals conceded. So they're a lot higher up. West Ham, this is why I say that Vardy and Fernandes are better captains than potentially De Bruyne this week. West Ham, 9 big chances conceded, but they only had 6.83 XG conceded, but they've only conceded 3 goals. Now, if I just move this across over here, the teams that West Ham have played, if we just look at Kuf, is it that he spoke Kufal? Yeah. So if you look at Kufal, they've played Aston Villa, Sheffield United, Fulham, and Liverpool. Now Liverpool were a bit unlucky not to get more than 2 goals, I would think, if I remember that game correctly. Fulham just can't put their chances away. Sheffield United can't put their chances away. Aston Villa could have put chances away, but didn't. So again, the table, the stats don't lie on that. So West Ham could be a lot leakier in defense, which is why I hope that, if United go with a more attacking midfield sense, these numbers, it can be bumped up. So they concede just as many big chances as Sheffield United, whose defense is awful. They've just only conceded 3 goals from those 9 big chances. And then Arsenal's also there as well, which is why 5.8 expected goals, but they've only conceded 5. This is why Kane, you could also argue, is potentially a better option than the likes of De Bruyne for captaincy. So that is one argument in favor of captaining De Bruyne. Captaining Fernandes or Vardy, which is why I can't understand why people are getting rid of Vardy this week. Like literally, these 2 fixtures were like the 2. After that, okay, you can look to change him potentially. So after he plays, he plays Brighton in Gameweek 12. Okay, maybe you keep him for that one too, and then he plays Everton, who again, if we bring the table back across, look who's at the top, Everton. And Brighton's defense is actually quite good. They just kind of concede like 1 shot a game and it goes in. So, yeah. So again, Vardy is definitely somebody probably worth keeping. And he also plays. Does he play them away from home? No, he plays them at home. So that's a bit unfortunate. But if it was away from home, Vardy does a lot better. Let's get back to the chat here. So. Robertson injury isn't serious. No, I think he should be fine. But I will expect him to potentially be benched and rested in the Champions League coming up this week, and potentially he's either going to be benched for this game week versus Wolves, or he's going to be benched versus when they play Fulham, most likely. I think, just to kind of heal him up a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets benched this week though. Personally, just to heal him up for 2 games for like basically a week and a half straight, and then he'll be good to go for when they play Fulham. So we'll have to see. Sorry, meant Son to KDB and Grealish to Mars. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. That would definitely make more sense. Those are definitely good moves for sure. Mind you, there are arguments to bring Son in, because again, we saw the Arsenal stats. They do concede more than Fulham, but again, Fulham really hasn't played. Like, if you look at Fulham, we bring up Anguissa, who's been doing quite well for himself. Who have Fulham played in the last 4? They played Leicester, they've played Everton, they've played West Ham, and they've played West Brom. So you can argue they played 2 teams that don't necessarily score very much. Who they did decently well against. Obviously, the loss versus West Ham. Everton, who tend to score a little bit of goals, but haven't been as... Like, Everton could have put them to the sword. And probably a lot of that XG came from that game. And then Leicester, XG wasn't a lot versus them either. So, interesting stuff. Is it wise to double up on Chelsea defense? They've only conceded 3 goals in 11 matches. I would say if you've gone to the Chelsea defense, double up defense, I would say it was good for the time it had. I would say now not so much, because Leeds could definitely score, even though it is an FTR rating of 2, and seems like an easier fixture. Promoted club, Chelsea's at home. Leeds can definitely burn them, and I bet you Leeds will probably have a good fair share of the possession. I still think Chelsea will win, but again, when you have Chilwell and you have Reece James, who are probably going to play in the Premier League. Now, remember, Reece James could also get rotated as well. So if you're going to go for another defender, maybe Zuma, if you want more security. But again, Reece James is so cheap that it's just probably too good to pass up. But again, Everton, they could potentially concede. Wolves, depends on what Wolves system plays. West Ham could frustrate them. Arsenal don't score goals anyway. and Aston Villa. So the double up is still definitely on. But again, if you're looking at Chilwell plus James, you may see some rotation for James. And Chilwell's played a lot of games. But again, next week they don't have to play anyone, really, because in the Champions League they're already through their first place. They can literally bench whoever they want. So you might see like Alonso play in that game. You might see, if Gilmore's back, he might play in midfield instead of Conte or Kovacic or something like that. Aspilicueta might play. Those sorts of things. Where are we going to? Next week could do St. Maximin to Grealish back in, but would be need to downgrade DCL to Bamford or something similar. I mean, yeah, you could. St. Maximin's been pretty bad, personally. He had like that one good game where he got like what, goal assist or 2 goals or something like that. But I was saying, like, Grealish's fixtures is so good. Like, there are arguments to get rid of him. If you're bringing in like Mahrez or City mid or something like that, then cool. If you're bringing him back in for the following week, then cool as well. If you're hanging on to him and just benching him or putting him in your lineup and somebody's going to come in and play instead of him, then cool. I can see both sides. Leicester's form's a bit shaky over the past couple of weeks. It has been, actually. However, they had Ndidi, Ricardo Pereira, and Soyuncu play in midweek on Thursday. Soyuncu came off with a reoccurrence of his groin problem, so he could be out, which may leave Justin potentially as a back 4 option. But Pereira came off after 45 minutes. That was scheduled. That was fine. Ndidi played for 55 minutes. He looked fine. So, again, they could potentially be getting back to full fitness. Let's actually take a look at the Leicester team. So, Castagna could be back this week potentially. Or is he out? He might be out this week, but again, we could see a situation where next week versus Brighton, they have fit and available Justin, Castagna, Fuchs, Fofana, Evans, Thomas, and a bunch of other players that don't play. They could still play Barnes at wing back. They could still play Albrighton at wing back. They could still play Dennis Pratt at wing back. So there's a bunch of options. And then you have Ndidi coming back, who could be fit and available. Yeah. Soyuncu is probably going to be, probably re-injured himself and could be out. But Brendan Rodgers said it's not as bad as what they had feared. As they had initially feared. So, could be okay. Let's put that back. I'm actually planning on taking out Vardy next week to free up funds to have Son, Grealish, Fernandes, KDB, and Salah in a midfield over the next few weeks. I mean, that's fine too. That's perfectly fine. There's an argument to say that Son may be better money spent on the likes of Jota, as an example. Could be. And then you have an extra, 3 million or whatever it is. Still have Mitchell as, I assume that's fodder. Do you think he could start? No, I don't think so. I don't think Mitchell's going to start because now that they have Nathaniel Klein, Ferguson has been pictured in training the last week or half a week or something like that. So he's on the horizon. He's probably going to be their starting right back when things are all said and done. And then what they'll have is Patrick Van Arnhold and Ferguson, and the 2 backups will be Nathaniel Klein for right back and Mitchell for left back. That's what'll happen. Mitchell can play both. So if, let's say, Patrick Van Arnold goes down, I think that Mitchell's the likely replacement there at left back, not Nathaniel Klein, if Ferguson's playing at right back. But if Ferguson goes down again injured, then you can have Klein play there or Mitchell play there. So if you still have Mitchell and he's like your third sub and you don't really need to rotate him, then he could be okay. But again, with PVA fit, Klein in there, I don't see either of those two getting moved because they play back-to-back weeks. So I just think he's just going to be thereabouts. Maybe a potential swap to Ferguson when he comes back in the team, but we'll see. Again, he's signed for Palace, what seems to be in ages ago, but hasn't played a lick of football yet. So we'll see. Jota versus Ward-Prowse could be interesting. I think that Ward-Prowse's fixtures are good. They have Brighton this week, who concede goals when they technically shouldn't do. So if there's anyone who's going to score goals with low XG, Ward-Prowse is definitely the guy to do it. But I think Jota over the next few could be really good. So, Liverpool's fixtures are going to be good. Jota plus Salah double up, Jota plus Mane double up could be quite good. I'm going to basically compensate that by just captaining Salah. Some people may just go with that and not captain them and go with somebody else. Mind you, next week I think it's pretty straightforward to captain a Liverpool player. But I'm looking to potentially pick either Trent or Robertson to go into that West Brom game, I believe it is, for game week 15. Yeah. That's what I'm targeting there. So I potentially could have 2 free transfers. I'm trying to line that up so I could potentially, if I want to get rid of Grealish, because if I think Crystal Palace is going to be quite good defensively, I can take him out for Jota, and then so I could do so at this point just imagine I have 0.2 million basically. I could take Grealish out for Jota as an example, and then I would have what would that be, like 0.7 million. So I need to potentially do something else if I wanted to get rid of Tellez or something like that. Or maybe I know one of the younger like fullbacks is playing. I take Tellez out for one of those players. So if I know that or one of the center backs. So where's Liverpool? So if I know that one of these guys, so like Phillips is playing at center back, he's 4 million. If I know maybe Matip's playing, I could bring him in. There's a bunch of different things I can do. Or I can just basically take out both Chilwell, because Chilwell plays Arsenal, so again, London derby could be a bit tough there. And just basically get rid of him, bring in just a dud, because I'm wildcarding the week after that, so it's fine. And then bring in Robertson or Trent for that one game week with 2 free transfers, so should be okay on that front. But I think Ward-Prowse and Jota, you'll definitely get value out of both of them, I think. But I think Ward-Prowse is a bit weird because he is somebody who, his XG is going to be a lot lower because of his nature of his free kicks. I mean, his free kicks are basically penalties for him, but yeah. I think you can get arguments for both. And Jota's now creeping into that 7 million territory, which is a bit of an awkward price, as we've seen. So it could be a bit of a problem for some people's balancing, because you want De Bruyne's, you want the Salahs, you want the Fernandez's. It could be a bit tricky. Jota or Mars for the next 3 weeks. So who's Jota? If you include this week, Jota has Wolves, Fulham, Spurs, right? Mahrez has Fulham, United, West Brom. Probably Mahrez, especially if he scores. Because he's not going to play Champions League. If he scores, he's going to play versus United. And then he's probably likely to play the following game as well. So probably Mahrez, I would say, maybe. But again, that's a big hike in funds as well. It's an extra million or so. Southampton are very well organized, and Ward-Prowse is a very good pick. Yep, I think so too. And Ward-Prowse's free kicks are bangers. I would agree. Now, let's take a look at the couple of the members area stats here. If you don't know about this site, this is the Fantasy Football Scout members area. So this is something that you can subscribe to. I believe it's like £20 UK currency for the entire year, which is very, very cheap. I think that's still the offer. And basically you get to see all these cool stats. So anytime, if you ever watch the Scoutcast, or if you watch the FPL Wire, or if you watch FPL Black Box, this is the area where they get the stats from. And you can find heat maps, you can find season ticker, you can find all different types of stuff, and people make different tables for that. So this is one of the tables that one of the main members, Joe, who's usually on the Scoutcast, made a table called the Goals Imminent table. And what this table shows is basically the players who are most likely to score this coming game week, the expected goals imminent table, as it were. So players who are on this list is Patrick Bamford. So basically what it shows is big chances missed, big chances total, goal attempts, goals that they've had in that time, shots inside the box, shots on target, starts, expected like goals scored versus expected goals. So basically Patrick Bamford should have scored 3.96 goals over this time. He's only scored 1. So that's where you got to look at that. Mars or KDB captain. Mars is probably the more explosive player, and if Pep's words are true, then maybe Mars, because he's going to be a differential pick. But I know a lot of people are going to go KDB, so if KDB gets like goal 2 assists or something, and Mars gets like goal assist, then a lot more people are going to captain KDB. But there is the option for a big, rank hike for that. I think KDB's the safe one. He's probably going to play. But again, Mars could do well as well. So if you want to go for more of the differential pick, Mars. You're going for more of the mainstay, De Bruyne. However, we do have some stats on De Bruyne. He is also on the goals imminent table. He should have been expected to score 1.44 goals in that time, and he scored none. So potentially expect KDB to get a goal today. Trezeguet is on there for Aston Villa. Not really much of an FPL asset. Same with McBurney for Sheffield United. Not really much of an FPL asset. Firmino could have potentially scored in that time, based on the stats. Adamana Lookman is on there. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is on there. Mason Mount is on there. Ferran Torres, another potential differential who could play over Sterling today, is on there. And Theo Walcott is another one who is on there. So yeah, that's kind of one of the public stat tables. We also have the season ticker as well. So this is basically showing all the fixtures and how difficult they are, basically, in terms of ranking attack versus defense. So this is how the attack lines up. So if you look so at the top is the easiest fixtures from now until Game Week 15. So this is the period that we're looking at, Game Week 11 to Game Week 15, because after that people are going to be wildcarding on 16. So this is the period you want to kind of look at players for. So who's up there for attack? Liverpool's up there. Why? They have Fulham, they have Crystal Palace, they have West Brom, and they have Spurs. Who they should probably beat, and it is at home. Man City up there because they have Fulham, West Brom, Newcastle at home in 3 out of their next 5. Should be quite easy there. Newcastle would normally be good, but again, blank here. Same with that Villa. They're probably dropped a little bit lower because of their blank. But again, Newcastle would be normally good because they have Villa, West Brom, Leeds, Fulham, all defenses that are easily got at. Although with Calvin Phillips back for Leeds, could be a bit of a trickier situation. But down the bottom, likes of Sheffield United, Fulham, West Brom, Spurs, and Wolves are considered to be tougher fixtures for attack. In defense, Aston Villa still right up there. Liverpool's up there, defense-wise. Man City's up there. Brighton is another one. Potentially looking at taking out McCarthy for Game Week 14 and 15. Could be a goalkeeper transfer. Just kind of roll my transfers. That could be something that I do as well. So again, Brighton is just one of these teams that they just concede for whatever reason. Even though they only face one really good shot a game, and it typically goes in. But in terms of bad defensive fixtures, Wolves is down there. So again, we discussed how like Kilman could potentially be making way, but again, he is a budget defender. So if he is starting to be like benched and Sice is just back in there, then yeah, maybe look to get rid. Palace is down there. West Brom is down there. So again, the fact that West Brom have very bad, defensive fixtures on paper, they could be potentially getting beatings, as it were, quite heavily in the next few game weeks. Attacking output and XGI. So this is the table that I've created myself, and I'm going to quickly bring in the potential captaincy options for this week. So we're going to have Vardy, Salah, Kane, De Bruyne, people have said Mahrez, Bruno Fernandes. Shouldn't be anyone else, I don't think, majorly. I guess you could put Werner in here too. Timo Werner would make sense. So, let's see. Move this across so you guys can see it a little bit better. So basically that last column says XGI, which is just expected goal involvement. So that's the involvement that a player will have in a goal or an assist. So if we sort it by that, Bruno Fernandes is top. So the table definitely shows it is, definitely in favor of Fernandes. And Neeps makes a good mention. 3 minutes to go, so make sure you have everything sorted for that. Vardy is up there, 4.8 expected goal involvement. Salah is next, then Timo Werner, then Kane, then De Bruyne. And then this is over from, this is the last 5 game weeks. I think I have to set the filter to. So this is from game week, this is game week 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, and 10. A little bit bigger of a sample size. If we change the filter to, so it's going to be 7, 8, 9, 10. Just going to change it really quickly. If it'll load quickly, hopefully. I might have to re-add those players again. So let me just do that really quickly. So Fernandes, Vardy, Kane, De Bruyne, Mahrez, Salah. So if we just briefly move this back up, only show selected players. Expected goal involvement. Look who's at the top again. Turns out it's Bruno Fernandes again. So again, Bruno Fernandes, Jamie Vardy, up the top. Salah's up there, and yeah. So maybe there is a warrant to that KDB being a good pick, because KDB did hit the post. He is on the goals imminent table, and Fernandes also could be a good shout as well. In terms of expected goal involvement. So I think that if you go with KDB, if you go with Vardy, if you go with De Bruyne, I think they're all going to be good shouts. Who's going to get the hole potentially? Or likely to get the hole? I think Vardy and De Bruyne probably. But there is, situations to see that that Fernandes could definitely do it. He will be heavily captain this week, but I also think that De Bruyne will be as well. So I'm going to stay. The stats show that Fernandes could be good this week versus West Ham. Again, West Ham's against United have been quite resolute. So I'm going to go with De Bruyne. I'm going to go with the nice fixture on paper. Even the stats show to say De Bruyne. I mean, they show Fernandes. So we will see what the stats say. But again, United are very heavily liked, and that should be the deadline there for everyone. Should be the deadline. Really good stream today. So we'll do as we normally do, which is keep refreshing until the page breaks, which it should do momentarily. So hopefully everyone got their lineups in on time. Hopefully everyone got the lineups in on time. So we will see. Love seeing you bring in Adams. Yeah, I thought Adams was a good pick. Plus, he was on my buy hold sell, so how could I not do it? Yeah, Fernandez, Vardy, KDB, or Salah. They're all pretty much good captaincies. Not sure why the site hasn't broken yet because the deadline is up, but we won't touch that anymore. But yeah, make sure to check out the Fantasy Football Scout members area. It's pretty good. I like it a lot. And we like to use the stats involved in our videos as well. Let's see, what are the fixtures for today? So we got Burnley versus Everton off the bat, and then we got the two Manchester clubs, and then we have Chelsea versus Leeds. So a bunch of nice fixtures today. So how many players do I have going today? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have a lot of players going today. And then on Sunday I have no Spurs, Arsenal, no Sheffield United, Leicester, no Liverpool, Wolves, and I have. Oh no, I do have Sheffield United technically if Burke plays. So I have 7, 1, and then 3. But again, West Brom's Crystal Palace, not really too much. People are just going to watch Leicester for Vardy. Spurs versus Arsenal, rather watch it just because it's a fixture. And I think it could be a boring 1-0 or something. And then Liverpool versus Wolves, that's a fixture I am worried about because it is at home. And they don't have Raul Jimenez, so who knows how they're going to play that one out. But site should be broken now. It is 7:02. And there we go. Please try again later. So let's swap over the big camera here. Thank you all for joining me on this lovely deadline stream. Make sure to go check out all the socials. Links are in the About section. PilotFlame226 on all of those. Give us a follow here on Twitch, Twitter, all that good stuff. Yeah, I'll be posting this VOD, so if you want to watch it back, you can do so over on YouTube. The next stream will be Monday. Should be Monday. 7 p.m. EST. Yeah, should be 7 p.m. EST. If there's any changes, make sure to check us out on Twitter to see if there's any changes there. But yeah, thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.